Captain Matt Yablonsky.
Chris,
welcome,
fun, buddy.
Great to have you on.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, what do you think so far early on here at the Greater Niagara Fishing Expo? How's the show been?
I just had a chance to walk around a little bit. There's a lot of new faces, a lot of new products. It's probably one of the better shows I've ever been to.
Yeah, it's happening here right now.
Boats, we've got you name it.
Well, I mean, think about it, and I should know this, but I don't. How many years has this one been? How many years has this one been coming on?
It's been a while. It's probably been since like 2016.
So we're closing in on 10 years.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the one thing I noticed today was the progression of the show, right? So it started out as literally tables, and there wasn't, booths, everything wasn't curtained off and whatever. Where it's like it's really turned into a really professional, well-run show, and that's credit to Joe and lots of staff. The visitors bureau here has done a nice job, and it's come a long way.
It's turned into one of the best consumer shows that there is. There's products from every manufacturer here, different tackle shops that are local, bringing tackle in, making sales. A lot of guys that are just making their own products.
Yeah, a lot of custom.
Yeah, a lot of custom stuff.
Garage grown stuff.
That you just
fun.
You can buy fishing lures over the internet. Right?
Yeah.
But unless you touch them and feel them and see them and see really, this is a little different. I need it, and this is a place to showcase it because you can pick them up and touch them, and a lot of new faces here. So
yeah. So we flew down from Minnesota. In our neck of the woods, we've got all of these custom ice fishing jigs. Like, it's a big deal, and really the big manufacturers, there are a few of them, but it's turned into a custom game.
Oh, sure.
Is that something you're seeing here on the salmon front too, where there's a lot of new custom people coming in and just a lot more variety?
Oh yeah, definitely a lot of variety. Guys that are doing their own meat rigs, and guys doing their own meat heads, and guys flies, and you see everybody's painting spoons, and it's really kind of a fun time to be in the tackle business. I'm just a charter captain. I just fish, so
yeah.
I don't get into painting spoons and stuff, but I like to look at them and help those guys out. See some new stuff that they want me to try out. I'll put them in the water and let them know how it works.
Well, what do you see with that when you're going out there with these new colors and just new designs? Do you think the fish are like, hey, that's something new? Or what do you think's happening with that?
You want my honest opinion?
Yes.
Tell stories.
No, give me your honest opinion.
I try the new stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an old school guy.
Mm-hmm.
Might be technically one of the younger captains around, but I'm an old school guy. I run a lot of silver streaks, green ally, nothing but a silverback spoon with white, little green, and a little black. Put that in the water every day and it catches fish. So I've got my staples that go down. I put the new stuff out and I challenge it. If it can catch just as many fish as Old Faithful, then it'll go in the spread. If it's a little slow, it might be a high sun specific, might be a low sun specific, but I always challenge them against Old Faithful.
Yeah.
And I run some streaks. I run green skirt. Green skirt catches me fish every day, all day long. So the newer colors, they do work, but
how do you keep it straight? Like, that's one thing I know. Even with my own tackle, it's like I have a hard enough time remembering what I had for breakfast, let alone what time, let alone what spoon worked on a sunny day when the wind was out of the east a week ago, right? So I mean, do you have any tricks for that, or do you write stuff down? I mean, what do you do?
Well, if it's something I want to try, I put it on my dash face up right in front of me so that I remember to put in the water. Because if not, the Old Faithfuls go in and I don't, you don't get to try the new stuff. But I put them out there, and on my dash, I've got a set where I've got my glow spoons, I've got my high sun spoons, and I got new stuff. So I've got them right in front of the boat. As I'm driving, I'm looking at them. So the ones that are belly up are Old Faithful. The ones that are face up are the newer ones I want to try, so I can see them. The other ones I know what they are.
So if you walk by Matt Yablonsky's boat, you gotta try to figure out the ones that are belly, the ones that are really with the backs up. You gotta try to figure out those out.
Once it's belly up, nobody gets to see.
Right.
Face up are the ones that let people see.
I get it. Okay.
But if I don't, because you get into a routine, you get into a pattern, and every morning the same stuff goes out, but I do want to try the new stuff because a lot of it will catch fish just as good as the old stuff. So I put them there face up right in front of me, and I throw them in the water whenever. When the bite's hot, because, when there's no bite, it doesn't matter what you put in the water, it's not going to work. So you got to wait till there's a hot bite, fill the new stuff in, and
So-
how she runs.
All right, well, Captain Dan Keating just said, one of his things is, not trying enough thing, not going. So if you're on a tough bite, are you gonna switch stuff up a lot, or are you going to rely on Old Faithfuls, or are you gonna do both? You gonna do half and half, or what's your
When the bite's tough, it's my regular spread.
It's your regular spread.
And
You don't change every 15 minutes or whatever. You're gonna run with what you do.
Yeah, I used to do that a lot. I had an area in the boat where if I took it off a rod, I'd hang it up. If it didn't work, I'd hang it up. You're gonna have a whole bunch of spoons on that little area at the end of the day. And then at the end of the day, what's on my rods when I put the rods away, all those Old Faithful spoons, that green skirt, that the green alewife, black chili willy. So when it's tough bite, I just let them in there because I know they'll eat them. If you're trying new stuff when it's tough, if they don't eat it, then you say, oh, it doesn't work. So I think you got to try your new stuff whenever the bite's hot.
This is a good question on size there, Chris, if you could pull that one.
Yeah.
Because this is one I always ask myself.
So Glenn Ganetsky chiming in, and we promoted we were going to talk about Niagara Bar, so I think we got some Niagara Bar coming in.
Oh.
Mag spoons. Glenn says, are mag spoons the norm for early May on the bar to mimic adult spawning bait? Should I run a mix of sizes? What do you think, mags or a mix?
I'll tell you what, I normally don't put a standard size spoon in the water until June. When I'm out there in March, April, May, they're all mag spoons. A couple reasons. Normally the water's got color. Our water coming out of the Niagara is green. It's got a lot of chalky color to it. So you want a bigger profile. You want more vibration. You want more color. By the time June gets around, the water warms up. It's starting to clear up. And you're starting to, they'll see it better. But I run all mag spoons all spring long.
We got a couple other questions here. I think they were directed towards Captain Dan Keating, but I think you can definitely answer these.
Sure.
Here's one from Great Lakes Triller. He says, how does a current direction change or make your spread?
Current direction makes a difference, especially where I fish. My boat is docked 12 miles east of the Niagara River. So the closer I go to the west, the more current you're in. When you're going into the current, you've got to run slower. Your lines will pick up more, your longer lines, your divers. So it definitely changes the way you go. And when you're going with the current, if I'm trolling east, I've got to go a lot faster. And, there goes the fish hawk.
Right. Yeah.
Motion again.
Yeah.
When you're in the current, you've got to have that fish hawk down. Without it, you don't know what's going on. And when you get halfway from Wilson to the river to 6 Mile, the current changes. So you're going one direction, you're into the current. By the time you get to 6 Mile, there's a little back eddy, changes again. Those changes are hot spots, without knowing your down speed, that's what determines what you do with the current.
If you had never done this before, if you were brand new to this, just kind of knowing what you know, would you start out just pulling spoons, or would you mix in, your rotators, what would you do if you were just starting? How would you do it?
Tips for a beginner would be just run spoons.
Just run spoons.
Spoons will catch fish at any speed. If you're doing 1.6 mile an hour, that spoon's got a big lazy action, and a lot of times the bigger fish like that bigger lazier action because it's slower. They don't have to chase it. But a spoon will also run to like 3.5, 3.6, 3.8. Flasher flies, meat rigs are way more speed sensitive. So if you run spoons, you can run your mag spoons, your standard spoons. You can run NKs, silver streaks, stream weavers, and they'll all run at any of those speeds. So just for
that's what I think too. Just like Chris said, obviously, we're in the business of selling fish hawks or whatever, but we're really in the business of getting people exposed to the sport, and by doing that, we're going to get our fair share at some point in the future. That's our philosophy, but it just seems to me because dirty secret, I don't get to fish as much as a lot of people do anymore, and want to do more, but it just seems like I'm always fishing spoons because I'm not as dialed in as you guys are, and it's I can still catch enough fish to keep it interesting. It seems like.
I definitely think spoons are the way to go, just to increase your chances. And sometimes they don't want flasher flies. Sometimes they don't want meat. I think they always.
You just hear so much about meat and flasher flies, and then you hear about it where it's like spoons are kind of like I just kind of think of them as like the old faithful, standbys.
They don't get enough. They don't get enough press these days.
No.
If you have somebody who's been running spoons for a while and they're thinking about running a meat program, what kind of advice could you give them to get started in running some meat?
I would say, kind of keep it simple. Don't get too fancy with, the big fish paddles and the fancy colors. Colors that work good in the dirtier, cloudy water, white on white, like white with glow and like a Mountain Dew, and just a basic, green glow head. Don't get too fancy. Give them something that, the steelhead will eat, the lake trout will eat, kings, the cohos. Just throw something down there that everything wants. If you go too big, too gaudy, too this, you might be missing fish. So, my idea is just keep it simple.
And what do you use? Are you using herring, or what are you using for?
I use a lot of Dreamweaver ballyhoo.
Okay.
The ballyhoo, I can get sometimes 2, 3, 4 fish.
Tough.
It's really tough. I like the shape. I like the size of it. I do run some herring, but I'll cut my own. Just because I like smaller pieces, thinner pieces. They kind of match the ballyhoo. But that ballyhoo's got a very distinct scent to it, and the fish really like it.
I got a pizza place in my hometown called the Ballyhoo.
Oh yeah,
and their pizza has a distinct scent to it as well.
I want
It's great stuff. I mean, it's like you can't get a pizza like that anywhere else. But you talk a little bit about that spin with the spoons. How does the motion work when you're running meat, and how speed sensitive can it be?
Well, I like to run just old school Rise Davis heads, and they're very tunable. A lot of the other heads in the market are very firm or stiff. You can't tune them. With those, I think if you have a smaller piece of meat, they rotate in a circle. I personally don't like that action. I think some guys do, but I don't. I like it when it kind of labors itself. It kind of rotates up slow, and then it kind of falls fast. Slow, fast. So every time I put a piece of meat in the head, I put it in the water behind the boat, out of the current, out of the, depending on which motor I'm running, I put it on the non-motor side. So I can really see how that meat rolls. So I tune it. But I think tuning is very important. I like that labor, slow roll. And even if I'm running fast, I'll turn the bend right out of that head so that I can run them with my spoons at 3.2, 3.3. A lot of people think you have to run meat at 1.6, 1.8. But if you put it behind an 8-inch flasher instead of like a 12 or a fish paddle, like a spin doctor, they'll rotate with your spoons. Just take the bend out of it, and just let the meat give the flip.
Sure.
So I tweak things a little bit.
Yeah. That's what makes you Captain Matt Yablonsky.
Well, I like to put people on fish. I want all of my customers to have a good experience. I want everybody to catch fish. So, and I'm pretty free with my information. If you want to know something, feel free to call me, text me. When I'm on the water, I get a lot of messenger messages from people, and I'll help you out.
Here's another question. This one is from I think this was directed towards Captain Dan too, but he kind of left us. We had you coming in. I'm looking for it. But it was asking about king salmon in Lake Ontario going deep. Oh, here it is, from Jim Lemon. Just saying, what do you think is causing the salmon to run so deep in the summer in Lake Ontario, or have they always been there?
Well, that's kind of an interesting question. Because on the west end of Lake Ontario, I don't find the salmon go that deep. Because our water has color. It has color all year long. So what we're doing is we're avoiding the clear water and looking for the colored water coming out of the Niagara River. Once you get into that colored water, typically, 80 to 100 feet is as deep as our fish go. And as you go to the east end of the lake, they don't have that color that we have. So it's more like Lake Michigan water where it's clear and blue, and the fish do go deeper. So I know my guys on the east end, they'll fish them down 120, 150, 180 feet. I typically keep my spread 80 to the surface. So I don't really have the direct answer to that question because my fish I see on our end of the lake don't really go that deep. I mean, they will, but I don't chase them then.
It seems like clarity is the most common answer we get to that question is water clarity is what it seems like.
Our food is up high because they're in that Niagara plume. The food's high. So the bait fish are all high. When I run over a school of bait, usually it's 30 to 60 feet. So the fish are, no more than 10 above it or 20 below it. On the east end, they don't have as much bait because the water's clear. Their bait goes deeper, their fish go deeper. So wherever the food's at is where you're going to find those fish. And that has a lot to do with the clarity of the water.
Anything you wanted to touch on that we didn't get a chance to ask you about today?
And I don't know. I know Lake Erie right now is 37 degrees. There's a lot of 40-degree water in Lake Ontario right now. If you look at the satellite maps, even the whole east end, central east end of the lake is 40 degrees. So I just think we've had a good growing season. We should have a lot of kings and a lot of big kings to catch this year.
All right, very
Spring's
good.
on its way.
People want to get a hold of you. Your website is getthenetwet.com. It's
Yes,
Wet
it is.
Net Charters.
Yes, it is.
Captain Matt Yablonsky,
Right.
appreciate you giving us some of your
Thank
time
you.
here today, and fun to have you on again as well.
Appreciate it. All right.